Well, greetings everyone. I'm Linda Cry with Action Coach XL Edge. And today I have the honor and the privilege to introduce Monique Farmer. And she is an expert in the communications and marketing and public relations world. So Monique, I'd love to welcome you and thank you for sharing some time with us today.
Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate you extending the invitation, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
Lovely, lovely. Well, what we usually do in these spotlight interviews is, first of all, learn a little bit about you and your organization. So give us a little context of, about why did you go into business for yourself and what kind of a business do you run and offer?
Great question. So I run a public relations communications firm. We also have marketing capabilities. We say we play in the sandbox in three specific areas. The first is creating internal, external communication strategies, whether it's for a private, small to medium-sized business. We do that for nonprofit organizations. We've also worked with some Fortune 500s to come in and help them with their message mapping to make sure they have cohesion, sometimes across multiple states, working on one specific project. And then we also even have had some government clients. One of our first clients was my former employer, Omaha Public Schools. It's the largest school district here in the state of Nebraska. We've worked with the state of Nebraska. Last year, I had the privilege of training a Navy PIO team at the Pentagon, so the gamut. And then the second space in that sandbox is media relations and media training. And so we've trained executive leadership teams at the corporate level. We've done nonprofit boards of directors. We've done one-on-one with top level leaders in the nonprofit space too. And then the third area is executive communication. So I built a curriculum for first-time CEOs at the nonprofit level, mostly like public agencies, and also that could potentially apply to corporate level. But those first-time leaders who come in with their craft and their skill set and realize that being at the cabinet level, especially in the leadership role and managing a board, is like a whole new ball game. And so, of course, they have mentors often, more often than not, to help them navigate it. But I help them with some other things, such as how to create their story and have it resonate with their workforce, externally, communication formulas they could use at the board table, those kinds of things.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I always like to say that the experience is the marketing, and learning how to tell that story is clearly the area of your expertise. So interested in learning a little bit more about that. So let me just ask you, as you started this business and got into it, what drew you, what attracted you to say, I'm going to own a business and I'm going to grow a firm? What took you to that place?
You know what? I feel like I've retold this story a couple times too, but I don't know that I always knew that's what I wanted. But I was in an interview more than a decade ago now, and the interviewer at the time, he was trying to vet me before he was going to put me in front of the actual owner of a PR firm, and he was a headhunter. And I heard myself say, one day I'd like to own my own PR firm. And so that just kind of came into fruition. I think really specifically though, for me, it was taking the experience that I had built over 2 decades. I started my career in federal government. The first 12 years was there. I was in corporate communications, doing work that was had global impacts, working with food plants in Argentina or Canada or in some cases in China. And so saw a lot of things, learned a lot of things there, and then transitioned all of that expertise to a role where I was the communication strategist for a school district that has 54,000 students, lots of emotion there. School districts have lots of politics, so learned a lot there. And just the culmination of all those skill sets and how you can help provide support to a nonprofit organization or to a first-time level leader, for me, is just really fulfilling. And then obviously the people that you attract to your team have to also buy into the mission of what you're doing and the vision of where you're trying to go. So just all of those things coming together in the right way and having the stars align in the right way got me here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, you mentioned team. So let's talk a little bit about team. What does your team look like? What do you look for in qualities or attributes? And as you're building a team, what makes you uniquely different?
Yeah, so we have about 9 on our team at this point, and the team typically looks like people who are excited to learn, who are open to coaching and feedback, who are unafraid to reciprocate that, people who are creatives, who can be depended on, and who subscribe to our values. So we have a sentence that helps us remember it, and it's family flourishes, so joy wins the day. But what those stand for is family, flexibility, service, joy, wellness, and delighting our customer. So it's 6, a little bit more than I think what the rules are. Typically, people don't want to have more than 3 to 5, but those are values that are really near and dear to me as a person who came out of some of those fast-paced environments that don't always subscribe to each and every one of those individually or collectively. We often lead at personal sacrifice to other things, right? Like time with our family, our health, like not working out or taking the time to make sure that our cup is full enough that we can pour from it. So I and my team knows this and would subscribe. I'm a big believer in like let's let's train multiple people to do that so somebody can be on vacation or sick. Let's make sure that we hop in and support one another and that we understand that the team is only as good as it is collectively, individually. It's about the whole, right? Like, so just making sure that we approach the work in that way and that depending on what the work is, pulling from the talent or skill sets of multiple people and being able to deliver something really high quality for our clients.
Nice, nice. I'm curious, how do you re-recruit? How do you recognize? What are the creative ways that you validate and reward your team members?
Yeah, I'm really a true believer in praise in public and criticize in private. So we are a remote team for the most part, and we are connected daily on we use GroupMe to stay connected because it can be kind of like a free for all to share what's happening in our personal and individual lives. So you'll see pictures of pets there. You'll see pictures of somebody just at their desk with coffee. You'll see requests for like, I just need to be lifted up for today. Like I'm having a rough day. I'm having a hard time concentrating. And so I think just making sure that we all feel personally connected when we're able to get together virtually for something like a strategy session, spending the time to kind of get to know each other a little bit better when people get to work on a project as a smaller group. That requires making sure that they deliver something by a deadline. And again, that it's quality and they understand the marching orders of that, if you will. I think all of those things that a good coach does when he's trying to make sure that football team can get out there on the field and deliver, what all those screaming fans expect to see. And so we'll try to bring all of those things into a space of making sure that we understand the importance of being connected, doing that regularly, and just pouring into one another.
Nice, nice. Doing life together at some
Yeah.
level. I'm curious about what do you do to keep your spirits energized, and maybe, where do you learn? How do you learn? How do you keep investing in yourself as the leader and owner of the firm? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, that took some learning. I say I don't think that I learned it, until I probably got to my 40s because I think, when you're younger, you have more stamina. Like I pay attention to my son, he's 22 now, and this guy can stay hanging out all night with his friends and then get up in the morning and leave for work by 7. It's like, you just got here at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, how do you have all that energy? So that is done for me, right? Like I have to have time where I have just quiet to myself. I spend a lot of time, even when I'm working and writing to Linda, listening to just like ocean waves, calming music. I have a couple like channels on my Apple Music that are like love tone DNA repair. They're recorded at like that 528 hertz level because it just really feels soothing to me to make sure that I have time that I don't have like a bunch of noise in the background or meetings or the TV's on, that's one. The second one is just quiet. Like sometimes if I have a break and I have 10 minutes, I'll just sit in the quiet in my office and just let my brain think about nothing. As difficult as that is, right? Like, because of course you still think about stuff and you have to kind of quietly let those thoughts kind of ease out. But just quiet prayer time, meditation time, workout. It took me again until I got to this space where I have a lot more autonomy over my time to commit to every morning I'm going to the gym. Now, I might not be working out that hard, but I'm there. And I am getting my walk in, I am getting some weightlifting in, but just making sure that before anybody else gets something from me at the top of my day, I have given something to myself.
Good, good. Yeah, we can't give that which we don't have. So clearly that's a part of it. When we talk about running a business, okay, so you have clearly a level of expertise. And as a subject matter expert, that's one skill. Let's talk about running a business. What did you have to learn as a business owner, and maybe some things that surprised you as you were on that journey to grow your firm?
A lot is the answer to what
Yeah.
did I have to learn. Um, I think that you've hit it even in the question. We come into this space, you have a passion for something. It might be anything, dance or singing. We can turn a lot of things that are a passion into a business, but understanding business is so different than that passion, because business is about numbers and it's about profit and loss and cash flow and access to capital and how we're using our resources. How long can we live based on how much resources we have before we got to keep, getting out there, hitting it, bringing more business in to sustain the viability of that business. There's a story in our numbers that can help inform the assumptions that we're going to make about like the next year or the next quarter. All of that for me was new territory. So very early on, I got advised, I don't know how early on, it was probably about a year or so in, I got advised that I might want to apply to this program that Goldman Sachs runs called 10,000 Small Businesses. And that was a 4-month virtual, it was all online. We had a culmination ceremony that was 1 week. But it was all online. There was something to do every day. There was a curriculum, there was paired partner work, there was small group accountability, there was large group accountability work. But I learned so much about what it takes to understand if you have an opportunity that's going to work in the marketplace, if you have the potential to scale, how do you understand the industry that you're in from a macro perspective? Where do you find that kind of industry data? How do you recruit for talent? How do you make sure that you're recruiting the kind of talent that you want on your team and that you don't inadvertently bring on some level of toxicity? All of those things. And so I am grateful that I took the leap to apply and that I was accepted and that I was able to graduate from that program into, a sea of about 15,000 other graduates that are now part of my peer group if I need to tap it for some reason to help me along my own journey. So yeah, that's what I would say are the things that I've learned so much about what I didn't know, that has to do with just the business side of the world beyond your passion. Because I do think too, when we get started along this journey, we're just passionate and we're like, I know what I know my craft. And I think initially, I can't speak for everybody. For me, it's like, yeah, you're gonna do all the things, and you quickly find out, well, that is not going to work. That's next to impossible. I'm gonna need a squad of support to pull this off. So that too is what I would offer.
Beautiful. And it can be complicated, and yet, part of what we look for is help uncomplicated. It's about people and process.
Mhm.
And, we like to meet people that we've got really good people wanting to do good things. Things go bump in the night though, and usually it's an underlying process that's either outdated or doesn't exist or it's been fractured or something. And we have to take some time to sort through that. So I'm just curious, if you were to look back and maybe give your younger self some advice, right? So advice to your younger self from a business perspective, what might that be if you were to offer that today?
It would probably be the same advice that I still need to take today. For one, I think discipline, right? And not saying that I don't have it. I just think any entrepreneur could stand to hear that, yes, while it sounds great and flexible to have the autonomy to be really like agency of yourself and how you're going to run your business, that has to have structure around it, or you're potentially going to set yourself up not to be successful. I'm not saying you got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, but you need to have a game plan for your day. You need to be thinking about what are you going to be going after this month, this quarter, this year. And you need to stay on task. You probably want to have some personal and professional goals that you outline. But mentors, finding good mentors would be the other advice that I would give my younger self. That's easier said, I think, than done, because I personally subscribe to mentorship that is reciprocal. Like, I don't want to be a vampire that's just sucking all the life out of somebody because they have the stuff I need, right? I also want to be able to deliver something valuable as part of that relationship. But they are not necessarily, in my opinion, easy to find, especially as a Black woman, because you're looking for good fit. You're looking for someone that you can relate to and someone who can relate to you and your plight and your journey. But I would probably tell my younger self, sooner rather than later, like, see if you can carve out people that you can really trust, who are willing to be transparent, pour into you, but also you have something to offer to that relationship too.
Sure. Beautiful. It's an exchange relationship. Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice. Where are you growing next? What's in front of you? You've had some great success here. What does the planning process look like for you?
Yeah, that's one thing that's on my peer accountability group is going to ask me about that tomorrow, Linda. I did a strategy session with my team at the end of October, and I really just need to transform that into a masterpiece of sorts so that we have a sheet of music to use going into next year. I have read half of the series. I think it's like a 4-book series in EOS. So I want to get through the rest of that for this next year and do some work in the space of trying to implement that formally. Like, I've done some informal things, but I really love to formally get to the revenue space to implement that and have that system in place. I'd say that. And then in about 24 hours is, I think, my deadline for turning in a full manuscript version of my first book that I'm ever going to publish. So that's going to bring some speaking engagements and some fun launch activities for quarter 1 of 2024. That also gives me an opportunity to tell people about the work we do at Avant Solutions as well, in addition to what the book's about. The book is about 9-step methodology that I was able to uncover while I worked with a life coach for a year. Um, uh, 2021. I think it was all of 2021. Yeah, in part of 2022, but that methodology is something that I uncovered. That's what the book is about. But again, there's some ancillary connections to that work, and I think sometimes what we run into in career. So all the PR people who are kind of paying attention to some of the articles that I write for industry on PRSA strategies and tactics, hopefully we'll also find Chart Your Path and find it interesting and helpful.
Beautiful. Well, look forward to that book release. That's exciting.
It is, it is.
It is. It is. What inspires you today? What gets you up in the morning? And again, you talked a little bit about your discipline and your physical, stamina. What else? What really inspires you today? Where do you find that?
I really truly believe that has to do with uncovering your talents and what it is that you can contribute to your time here on earth. So it's probably more about legacy for the purpose of modeling that for my 3 children. I have a 22, an 18, and 15. So we got a cybersecurity person and my daughter studying to be a neurosurgeon. She thinks pediatric, but she just finished semester 1 and she has already slept till noon today. So I'll see if she's awake when I get done doing this podcast. She said that first semester really kicked her butt. So she's trying to get re-energized, but she loves all of that stuff, the sciences, STEM, anatomy, that's right up her alley. And then the youngest one thinks he wants to be a pilot, but I mention and call out each of their aspirations because I do think that it is important for them to watch their parents go after their dreams and to see that it is possible. It's possible for you to transition out of a role where you always worked for someone to building your own business. It's possible to have that internal drive to get up and go after something every morning because it's what's in your heart. And so I'd say they're my inspiration for sure, because I have an obligation to model for them what is possible and what they can achieve.
Nice, nice. Is there something in your business that you're focused on addressing? Not that that's something keeping you up at night, but is there a challenge yet that's in front of you that you're working on and working through?
I think particularly we're in the process of trying to learn a new space. And I have sought mentors to really help me get up to speed. I think the challenge is just staying the course and being diligent. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see those wins happening right away. It's easy to get discouraged when you need a certain level of talent on your team, and that means you've got to like figure out where that is and find the right person with the right skill set or somebody who's trainable to deliver something that you need. And so we're in the midst of trying to crack that nut. And like I mentioned, we've had a couple of disappointments there, but it's kind of like dust yourself off, go back, try again, figure out like what will work over here. If that didn't work, you learned something else with each incremental step. So I think just staying the course. Sometimes in business too, that's resources that are invested. It's dollars, it's hours of time, not just mine, but people on the team. It is relationship building and spaces to help create opportunities for the business. So I think that that's the challenge. I know I'm talking about that in a very nebulous fashion, but I hope that it has enough insight that it can be helpful for listeners.
Yeah, beautiful. Testing and measuring and everything we should learn from. And that's one of the things that I like to do as well, is to say, well, what worked well? Let's make sure that we're consciously aware of what worked well for us. And then to
Yeah.
be even more effective, what can we learn from this situation? And to not miss that nugget of opportunity
Yeah.
with our teams and ourselves. Beautiful.
And not to
Well,
just quit. Like, don't just quit just
no, no.
because that didn't work. Okay,
No.
let's try this way now.
Exactly, exactly. Love it. So, how do we find you? Who's your ideal client? Let's just kind of close with that so that we make sure that people know where to find you and how to connect.
Yeah, okay. So you can find us on Avant Solutions, spelled just like it sounds, Avant, AVANT Solutions with an S.org, O-R-G. We have contact information there. You can go to our team page to check out who's helping us deliver high quality service to our clients. And then we also have a link there that if you're interested in working with us, you can set up a complimentary, we call them impact sessions. They're our initial consult session to talk to you about what you've got going on and how we might be able to assist you in your team and your work. In addition to that, we have a free newsletter that we also encourage you to sign up for. It's a bi-weekly dose of what's happening in the world of PR. It's tips, it's tools, it's strategies and recommendations, and just kind of keeping up with what's current, and just a little bit of dose of joy also.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's just been a delight, Monique, to chat with you today. And I'm sure that there's been some insights that folks have picked up from you. And we'll have to make sure if we can get folks connected to you. And I'd love to meet with you myself and determine how
Sure.
we might do some work together.
For sure. That sounds great, Linda. You've got my contact information. So yep, whenever you're ready, I'll be here. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to have the discussion.
You are most welcome.